So the Ellis Park Stadium tragedy happened. Government organizes the commission of inquiry to find out what happened on the 20th of April 2001. And the commission uh, took more than 10 weeks, give or take, roughly around 10 weeks, with 47 witness testimonies. After everything was wrapped up, the findings were sent to government, and the official report was only released on the 20th of April 2002. After the fact-finding mission had happened, we're now at the point of factors that the Commission of Inquiry believes led to the tragedy, and they identified quite a few. So I'm just going to name the main points rather than like expand on each and every single point. If you want like the full thing, the report is online. Like most government documentation is online, like Commission of Inquiries and such. So you just search for the Ellis Park Tragedy Commission of Inquiry. Looking at the report itself, I am just going to highlight basically 2, 4, 6, 8 key factors that they discovered. Firstly was the league and more so all stakeholders' poor forecast of match attendance. The way they explained it in the report, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but it's the biggest match in SA, and you guys are not, you're under-equipped, You're having like less than 500 staff of people who are supposed to take care of 60,000+ people. That's just not going to work out. Secondly, that the report mentioned was failures to learn from past mistakes, such as the Oppenheimer Stadium disaster. Now, the factor that was pointed out in the Oppenheimer Stadium disaster was an inability from like security personnel, not just to handle the crowd, but as well to search for illegal objects. And that's why like some of the people, like some reports mentioned like knives, like people attacking the supporters, chief supporters with knives and all of that stuff. Third was failures by role players to clearly identify and designate areas of responsibility. Now, there was a notable disagreement as whose responsibility it was to secure the outer perimeter. The first part that fell, that allowed most of the supporters to go in to like the stadium grounds. Now, officially it was stationed to stallion security, but their explanation from the sounds of things is that they understood it to be a thing that they had to man access gates, not secure outer perimeter, which is like semantics. Like it's the same thing, If you're securing it, like you have to be watching it, isn't it? So yeah, the PSL were also mentioned as part of the people who were responsible for that, but their side of the argument was that like they believed that they were only there to do marshalling duties, just monitor the situation, and yeah. But once again, it's a semantical point to bring up, bruh, because like you're watching the situation, you can see it's going down, but we're not here to judge. The thing already happened, So third that was mentioned in the responsibility for the outer perimeter was SAPS, and specifically the Public Order Policing Unit. And their explanation in the report is that, look, they didn't have a duty to act proactively. They were acting reactively to the situation. So from the sounds of things, they saw things were going down, but then they only acted once like things had begun to pop off, Another notable disagreement that was brought up was whose responsibility it was to monitor the crowd within the stadium. So once again, they brought up mainly two key parties in this, basically the PSL and Diligent Security. Now the PSL, they had 2 spotters. Spotters, if you haven't been to matches before, they're those guys that look for trouble. Like they're part of the staff personnel, the security personnel at the stadium. They find guys that look for trouble, and if you cause trouble, they can throw you out. It's rare to do so in SA matches nowadays. Like when I go to stadium events, like it's rare to find a guy like that like gets thrown out. You have to be causing up a big fuss for that to happen. But back in the day, I guess yeah, it was a big thing. So in the Ellis Park situation, PSL had deployed 2 spotters that were in the JOC operation center, right? The thing is, it's just 2 people. How are they going to watch 60,000 plus fans? So there was, I wouldn't call it an undermining of the situation, but like more so an underestimation of how many resources they need to put in. Diligent security, their job, from the sounds of things in the report, was to guard pitch invaders. Therefore, they only limited their observations to the first 5 rows of the stadium in all 4 directions, plus the field itself. So they were in no position to spot the troubles that were going on within the crowd in the stadium. Another factor identified was that JOC personnel did not cooperate and coordinate information and decision making. If information was sent quicker to the different independent parties, you could find that the situation might have turned out different. But I think by the point when the fans entered the stadium, it was a lost cause at that point. There was no saving the situation. Fifth was the inappropriate announcement that tickets had sold out. In the report, it is mentioned that the announcement was made without prior consultation or warning to subs to the public order policing unit, which that is negligible. What's the word they use? Negligible. Yeah, that's negligible, bruh, because these are the guys that are supposed to maintain crowd order, and you don't even tip them off that you're going to be doing this announcement that might rile up the crowd, so yeah. Number 6, there was a failure to adhere to FIFA and SAFA guidelines, which state that a game should not start until the situation around, in or outside the stadium is under control. Number 7, it's kind of an obvious one to us now, but I guess back in the day you wouldn't have seen it. The sale of tickets at the venue. Nowadays you can't go to a venue. Well, you can like go to an event and purchase tickets at the gate, right? But then they're more costlier than purchasing. So they incentivized buying tickets earlier than showing up at the event and, just forcing your way in. Number 9, corruption from security personnel. In the report, there have been mentions of testimonies from people that certain security personnel members, they let people in the stadium without an actual ticket in exchange for being paid off, So, yeah. Number 10, desertion of duty from security personnel. Now, this one, I will defend the security personnel a bit, because from testimonies given, this only happened once things went like from 0 to 100. Once things were at 100%, there's no way like 301 safety officers, special event officers, were going to control a crowd of 80,000. That's just not going to happen, Number 11 was the failure to use the big screen. That was mentioned before previously. Number 12, the inadequate public announcing system, which was unable to guide crowds, try and instill order and calmness to the situation. Number 13, blame was placed on the public order policing unit to act in time. But as previously mentioned, these guys were acting reactively to the situation, not proactively. Um, and yeah, a good example of this was um, security personnel of Wolf Security had concerns around 10 to 7 about Gate 4, which was already overflowing at that point. The Public Order Police Unit only acted at 7:40. Nearly an hour. Yeah, just about an hour. 50 minutes. 50 minutes after the escalation of the situation. So at that point, as I said, once the people entered the stadium, there was nothing you could do. Once they entered into the outer perimeter of the stadium, before actually entering into the stadium, there's nothing you can do. 30,000 people. Like, it's like trying to picture it now. Imagine trying to picture 30,000 people. It's just unimaginable. And yeah, overall, the situation, yeah, Ellis Park, it was just negligence. Uh, it was a gross underestimation. There wasn't any coordination. Yeah, it was just a melting pot. And while it is sad that the situation happened, and the disaster and the tragedy happened, the good came out of it was the stadium reforms that took place, partly in due to the recommendations made by the Commission of Inquiry.